Well, one thing that I really want you guys to, that I want to talk about, when you told me this, I could not believe it. But your next movie that you're working on now is actually about a Rochester renegade, one of the most charismatic people in Rochester. Can you tell everyone about this project? Because I think it's going to be great.
Well, a few years ago, I saw this book. It was called The Studebaker Corporation. And on the cover were 5 guys dressed in black suits who were standing on a car, an old Studebaker. And the shot was taken in 1968. And the car was bombed with graffiti. And these guys, like I said, they were dressed in these black suits. They actually looked like hitmen out of a Quentin Tarantino movie. And I thought, well, this is interesting. It looked like a movie poster. And I asked the person who was reading the book, I said, what is this? And she said it was a book written by Father Jim Callan. And so I asked her if I could borrow the book, and when I found out, the guys on the cover of that book were 5 seminarians. And what was interesting about that is that the book, The Studebaker Corporation, is about Jim's life in the priesthood. The first few chapters of it is about his time in the seminary at Beckett Hall and St. John Fisher. And I was so drawn to that story because it almost reminded me of Dead Poet Society in the seminary. And what was great about this is that back in the 60s, when a young man wanted to become a priest, what they tended to do, they started at the age of 12 or 13 in the minor seminary, and then they went to St. Bernard Seminary where they completed their college, and they studied to be a priest a very long time, and they led this almost cloistered life with curfews. They couldn't date women, they couldn't have cars and all this sort of stuff. But in 1968, someone from our diocese had this great idea, which was, let's put a seminary on a college campus and actually have this experiment of guys go out and actually go to school with some of these kids, the people that they're going to minister in the future, and see how that goes. And what was great about it is because it blew the lid off of everything, because all of a sudden these kids who didn't hang out with any girls or anything like that were all of a sudden sitting next to them in their classes. And what was great about the Studebaker Corporation and Callan's story is that these guys went out and bought a car, and they hid it in this lot across the way so that the rector didn't know about it. And they would go out in the car, they would sneak out at night, and they'd go minister to kids in the streets and stuff like that. Would do all this really cool stuff. They wanted to be a different kind of priest. And unfortunately, they just kept bumping up against a system that kept chopping them out for the knees, and they wouldn't let them do the things that they really could do. Of the 5 guys in this group, only one became a Catholic, became a priest. All the other guys either got married or just got kicked out. And that one guy that became the priest, Callan, ended up getting excommunicated from the Catholic Church. So, Paul, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I always like working with Nick because he presents me with a lot of challenges. So he calls me up and says, let's write a script about 5 guys who want to become priests. So I said, that sounds very exciting. So, but really the story was fascinating, as Nick said. I just respect Jim Callan's, and I know people that belong to Corpus Christi or Spiritus Christi, and I feel that the guy is a true Christian instead of all these, pseudo-Christians that I see on my TV and in my world a lot. So I was really excited to work on the script.
Has anyone here heard of Father Callan? Let's do.
Well, we had a chance to we met with him. He's been very supportive of the script. We actually met with the other fellows that were seminarians. But one story is that when I pitched my agent on what I wanted to do, what Paul and I wanted to write, and he said, "What are you going to do that for?" He goes, "I just really can't do anything with that." However, he just read our first draft and really flipped. So really? I'm really encouraged about it. So.
Well, I wish you really well on that. Does he live here in Rochester? Does he still live here?
Jim, Father Jim?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Spiritus
because
Christi
you found the book in Florida somewhere.
I did. It was a girl from Rochester that came down with the book, so she actually goes to Spiritus Christi where Jim is right now.
Okay.
So.
Well, look, I'm going to ask you one other question, and while I do, take a look at this script that I'm looking on. Is that the right way? Take a look at that. Yeah. And I'm working on that, and I think
this has already been made into a movie.
Really?
Where did you get this?
I shouldn't tell you. You might want to tell everyone what that is.
This is a script that I wrote in 1997. It was actually made. They shot this in Montreal, and it became a really horrible cable movie. It's supposed to take place in New York, and they hired all these actors, and they just have all these French accents and stuff. Even though it's still taking place in New York, everybody speaks French in New York, I guess. It was that bad, but it was a check at that juncture. You know,
Nick Rose. That'll teach you.
Thank you.
Okay, here's my let me just ask you this, because this is something I'm curious about, and that is with the whole Rochester thing. Being in the music world, one thing that I find very interesting now that I've come back to Rochester, and often when you go to New York City, I remember when I had my first meeting with a music lawyer down there, and the fact that you're from upstate New York, they just kind of poo-poo you out. It's like, you know, they just toss you right out. But what's surprising isn't how outsiders view Rochester, but actually how some people in Rochester view Rochesterians. And what I mean by that is, more often than not, you hear somebody say, oh my gosh, you're really talented. You don't belong in this town. So everyone is encouraging people with talent to leave. I don't understand that. What's it like being, you know, in your business? Do you find that there are parallels with that? Is it the same kind of thing? Or is everybody telling you to, hey man, go to LA?
Well, for me, I've never been comfortable there. I always were comfortable here, and I felt, you know, to write, I've found that maybe it has held me back a little bit, you know, as far as getting studio jobs, rewriting things, but I'm not really into that. I like writing original material. So I always found it, you know, to be here more comfortable, a comfortable place to write. And you could live a lot longer off of the, you know, the screenplay sales here, you know. So for me, when I go out to the West Coast and take a meeting, they always kind of stare at me a little bit like I'm an anomaly or something, like, how are you making it from there? But once I got an agent and an entertainment attorney, it seems like they took care of a lot of it. And so it's the biggest hurdle as a screenwriter is trying to get your material in front of the people that will buy it. The system is really designed to keep you out of it if you don't have an agent, because studios won't read you if you don't have an agent, and an agent won't read you if a studio is not interested in you. So this whole system is like designed to keep you out of it. Somehow you got to figure a way to punch in and break through. Once you're in and you have the right elements that you're surrounded by, you know, it's just getting up every day and facing that computer and writing. I write 12 hours a day, and you just face it, and you have to be relentless, not only just writing, but making those phone calls, getting after your agent to read it, getting after him to make this phone call. You have to research everything that you're doing, not only the project, the idea, but potentially a company that might buy it. What's their angle? What are they looking for? Are they into tween stuff? What, you know, try to build your script with some sort of marketing element attached to it, things like that. So there's a lot to it. So locally, you could do all that stuff really right here. I'm an example that you can.
So you don't have to leave town, folks.
No.
Let's have a hand for Nick Dibella. Paul, thank you so much. We're going to take a break.